I love reviewing cars in England in December. You never know what the weather's going to be. And welcome today to Cars Plus Classics, the Umbrella Edition. And today is a car which everyone's very familiar with. It's been all over YouTube. Everyone's had their go. I'm a bit late to the party, to be honest with you, viewers. But it is the N13 Sunny. It's a fantastic car. You already know that. But this car has a bit more of a connection to me as well, for my own personal reasons, which I will explain. And best of all, thankfully, by this stage, I actually know the lineage of this car as well. So there's a lot to like about this car, and there's a lot for me to like about this car. So stick around. Now, the N13 Sunny was produced between 1986 until 1991. There was actually some hot variants of it as well, but essentially people remember this car as being quite a staid, stoic and solid family choice of transport. It was. And this is an 83 brake horsepower, top of the range GSX 1.6 model with a top speed, which I'll be honest with you, viewers, I'm not entirely sure. But do you want to do a top speed in this particular car? It'd be fun, but yeah, it's probably best to be suited for the relaxed cruising lane on the motorway. But anyway, this is the GSX model. Now, the GSX by Nissan Folklore is their top-of-the-range model for the time. And there's a lot to commend for it. It has a lot. This has power steering for a start. And I've been informed that the driving schools back in the 80s did use a fleet of these, and a fleet of micros. So if you had the micro, you would be very unfortunate because they didn't have power steering. This one did. And this is the thing. This was the car which was used everywhere, basically. They were common, they were family cars, they were, used by learners. They were very easy to learn in, to be honest. And, any learner that did have this was very, very lucky. It was a good platform to start off your driving career with. But for me, there's actually a bit more of a connection with this particular car, because I know some people look back at this car retrospectively and think, well, it's something from the 80s and therefore don't see it. And there is that, I agree. There's people that would remember this fondly from their youth. But for me, my situation was slightly different to this. I remember this car very fondly from the 90s. Well, growing up, my father, he was building up his career to try and eventually have his own business. So I grew up in a very humble beginnings. Back then, you could constantly pick up cars between 100, 200, 300 pounds with the MOT and back then tax as well. And that's the sort of cars we had. You get those sort of cars, they'll last you a year, 2 years, 3 years if you're really lucky. And it was to get you by. Nowadays, you don't really have that. Nowadays, you look at that, the £1,000 mark. But I digress. And back in the 90s, we had a myriad of different cars. We had Montegos, we had Peugeots, and we had a sea of Japanese cars. A lot of them were Nissans. We had Micras, Cherries, and Sunnys, the whole lot, basically. So this is why it holds a quite close place in my heart. And I've always liked the Sunny, even when they become super unfashionable by the time you got to the 2000s. They were seen as square and boring. And in fact, I remember by the time you got to the late 2000s, they were banger races, choice of wheels. But again, I digress. In terms of this particular model, like I said, it's been reviewed by pretty much most of the YouTubers I'm aware of at the moment. And I know the lineage of this particular car belongs currently to the wonderful Joseph Lloyd from the excellent Lloyd's Vehicle Consulting channel. But prior to him, it belongs to my friend Louis from Southampton. It's a very good car. It's got low mileage. For this particular one, actually, it's been very well looked after and has been very well cherished. And this is a really rare example, and I believe it's only one left in the country because it's a manual top of the range and the saloon, so that makes it super rare. But like I said, there's a lot to commend about this particular car. And I did mention earlier there was a hot version. I've been informed there was a hot version. I've never seen a hot version, and I've seen the hot version of the Cherry that preceded it, as well as obviously the Bluebird that was the bigger vehicle in the range. So there is a hot version. Good luck finding one. But these are pretty much the sort of things you'll find. If you're very lucky, you'll get yourself a GSX top of the range. And there's a lot to explain about this car, but in a nutshell, it's fantastic. Now, in terms of the styling, I've always said that the Bluebird, which was the bigger vehicle in the Nissan model range at the same time, was designed by a student in a maths book with a ruler. And I don't think it's too dissimilar for this particular model. If you were to ask anyone who didn't know much about cars to draw a car, it would be your standard 3-box saloon, and it would be something like this. Not too dissimilar to the Bluebird, of course, but this is the sort of thing you could design in an epic sketch. So yeah, it's very straight-laced, but I like that styling. I like the straight-lacedness of the design. I love the square edges and the square headlights and tail lights. I like all that. I think it's one favour of a lot of people over time, especially as cars have become bigger, bulkier and uglier in many respects. And this takes you back to a time when car design was more simple, and it's much more pragmatic in its design and very likeable. For a start, I love the ginger cases. Thank you. We've got ginger cases, excellent, and black ribbon strips. The blue paintwork as well. I must admit, I absolutely love this colour. What's a stylish colour. I also like the little badges on the grille, I'll be completely honest with you. And I like the fact that you've got this grille here, which is a facelifted grille, I believe, because it shows the kind of Nissan wings design. You have that on the P10 Primera, which I've recently reviewed as well. But the front end, very clean, very simple, very likable. And by the time you can imagine, you got to the 1990s, especially to the 2000s, where we had swept back design and slab-sided design and bold, bulbous design. This would have aged. Yes, it would have aged. And that's probably where some of its dowdy image did also come from as well. And ultimately, one of the things that didn't help, to be honest, is attrition rate. But also look at the rest of the design. You also have, like I said, the lovely straight-laced design over this side as well. You've got this excellent, well, it's kind of almost crinkled design over here, viewers. I mean, you've got the belt line up here, kind of like a Volkswagen, but you've got another line down here to give it some stance, and obviously the black rubber strip to make it practical. It's scalloped. It's almost like an Austin Montego in that sense, almost. It's scalloped. I really like it. You don't have the oily, smooth lines of a Toyota Carina, but you have those razor-sharp lines of a 1980s car. It's a typical 1980s car in that design. I think Nissan did a fantastic job designing it. And the lines flow all the way to the back. Now, bringing cameraman Joseph to the back of the vehicle, the styling, which I've mentioned before, the razor-sharp, epic sketch design styling, just continues. In fact, I love the fact you've got these really sharp lines on the boot lid. And actually, this brings me on to another design flaw with modern-day cars. This is a small saloon, bearing in mind. Look how lovely and long the rear boot lid is on the Saloon. You have this upright window, and you have a large boot tailgate. I mean, recently, in fact, Kia released a EV4 fastback saloon thing, and I thought, what a horrible design that is. I'm sorry. The boot lid is ridiculous. If anything, viewers, it kind of looks like the boot chute you got on a Mark 1 Renault Modus, but I digress. This is how it should be designed. Large, bigger, enough space to open up and actually you have to access your items within the boot. I like this style. And also the upright window is great for headroom. Why don't we have that anymore? Headroom is important. It makes the car feel less claustrophobic. But again, the styling is very 80s, and I love this kind of black heck blend we've got here. Now, on certain models around the world, I believe in the Australian market, especially in the hatchback, you had a really interesting, nicely designed heck blend that blends in with the tail lights at the rear. But this one here is actually integrated in the reverse lights, which I really like. But this is actually a pre-facelifted model, so as you can see, the reverse light clusters are actually within the heck blend, whereas on the face model, the reverse lights were inside the tail light clusters alongside the indicators. So this is the GSX model, like I said, and I love the badge. It's large, prominent, very 80s in its design actually, and it's proud to be the top of the range model. Again, I've mentioned this before in another review I did for a Toyota Aventus, but there was a time when badging was everything. Granted, it was the I badge, as people refer to it as. But there was also a time when people just understood which model you had by actually having a designation to the model. So it was to say what the badge was. It wasn't just there to show off. It was also there to designate which particular model you had. Nowadays, you don't have that. I've recently driven a 2018 Aventus, top of the range model, and it doesn't have anything to suggest it's top of the range. Why? Why has that happened? Anyway, I digress. The rest of the styling is very square, very 80s, very plain, but very simplistic and very pragmatic for that reason. Still looks fantastic though. Absolutely love it. Hint of 1980s with the black heck blend. Very straight-laced, very well designed. Nissan did an absolutely magnificent job with the rear end of this car, and the front end and the side. The whole thing is brilliant. I really like it. Well done, Nissan.
Complexity when the leather runs smooth on the passenger seat. I would go out tonight, but I haven't got a stitch to wear. This man said it's gruesome that someone so handsome should care. A jumped up country boy.
Wow, look at this interior view. It's almost brutalist design. This is fantastic. It's actually really bringing me back to my childhood from the 1990s. It really is. It's the sort of thing my dad would have been driving. And in fact, even the smell, even the aura of this car, everything about it, it just takes you back to the past. I absolutely love it. But I won't get too wispy-eyed and nostalgic about it. Let's focus on the actual car itself, because I'll start with the steering wheel here. Nice, light, easy to use. I actually like the fact you've got these little dimpled designs on the horn part. My favourite part of the steering wheel is actually the badge. It's recessed in, and it's a very 80s design, I must admit, but I really like it. And it's amazing that in the 90s, most cars just had an imprint because of the airbag or for whatever reason. And so it was nice that Nissan just went a bit above with their designs, even something as simple as a steering wheel. As for the rest of the car, the instruments in front of you, the binnacles, are very clearly laid out. I mean, they're huge. They're almost designed for elderly people, if I'll be honest with you. It's so clear and broad in their layout, but I like that. It's not cluttered. It's not overly fussy or difficult. It's a very good system. But I like it. And then on top of that, you've got this excellent kind of deck lid for your centre binnacle. Very smooth and straight, and it's a nice design. It's just designed to keep all the lights out, keep all the glare off. Good idea. Well done, Nissan. It's very pragmatic. I love these air vents. And don't get me wrong, obviously, the quality of the materials is very Nissan. So it feels very well built together, but the materials itself are a bit hollow. It doesn't feel as heavy and built from a piece of stone like certain German cars, especially from the same era. But I digress, because I still think the quality is excellent nonetheless. I love this kind of almost rouge plastic. It's how I can describe it really, but you had this on pretty much everything in the 80s and 90s. And obviously the centre console here, so simply laid out, so clear. You've got the stereo down there, again, very, very simple design. But I think the overall thing we take away here is there's a lot of design, yet it's pragmatic and simple. Why don't designers do this anymore? Why is everything so complicated? In fact, I feel like some of the modern day cars are trying to go back to this kind of very straight-laced design, but they're lacking the flair that this has. It still has a bit of design character. That's about maybe even talking about the sunroof. And don't get me wrong, I'm not going to touch the sunroof, but I like the fact you have a sunroof for this particular car, and it really does make things feel a bit more airy in here. It makes it feel less claustrophobic. Modern day cars have an over-dependence of dark colours, no sunroof. Why? Well, the excellent seats continue right at the back. I love this design. You've got this excellent stitch pattern work. I mean, you've got this very faint red woven into the kind of checkered design of the seats. It's really good. I really like it. And on top of that, it's really comfortable. In terms of the seat design, I'm really impressed with it. And I love these door cards. I mean, they're simple and thin. They've aged brilliantly for a start. They feel really nice to my fingertips. And it looks magnificent. And what's more, it adds to the kind of light, airy interior design. And best of all, this is an 80s car, but I appreciate it's the top of the range model, but it's got lovely kind of almost piano black plastic at the back, which suits really nicely actually with these door cards personally. And I love the fact you've got electric windows at the back, central locking electric windows in a car from the 80s. That's quite impressive. I'm quite impressed with a car that was essentially just a family car. So that's a lot of positives about the back, and there's a lot of positives about the interior. One of the downsides, as you can probably see, is the legroom. Now, don't get me wrong, for maximum comedy value, again, I've also adjusted it to the position I'm currently sitting in. I appreciate most people aren't as big as me, so I'm sure they're going to probably, have a bit more legroom at the back. And granted, I could have moved the seat forward and been a bit more comfortable, but I just want to see how I'd fit at the back of myself. Not too great. This wouldn't be too great on a long journey, but at least I feel claustrophobic. So there is a few things to like about it, but I also like the quality of the interior. I've recently reviewed a Mark I Renault Megane, and it was hit and miss. This one, it's hit after hit after hit. Just a slight shame about the interior space, but then again, it's not a big car. I'm not expecting too much from it in that respect. First of all, guys, I just want to say that it takes a bit getting used to with the indicators. You've got the classic JDM indicators, and I should know better. I have a Toyota Carina E with the same indicators, and yeah, I keep putting the wipers on every single time I do. It is a bit annoying. Nonetheless, the car, in terms of the way it drives, is noticeably different to modern day cars. It just is. The drive and the delivery of power is very linear and very smooth. It's wonderful. It's not even a 60-valve engine, and yet it just wants to pull right through the range. One thing I would notice about the engine is that it has a fair amount of torque, actually. I'm quite impressed, really. Torquey little unit. Good little unit for 83 brake horsepower. It's not bad at all. But just going through these lovely roads in Hampshire, I must admit that there's the occasional hesitance from the carbureted engine. But it's not too problematic. To be honest with you, anything's characterful. I rather like it. I find that it does tend to come in when you least expect it, but it doesn't actually interrupt the flow of the drive too much. It still has a very linear and very direct flow to the drive. And plus, it feels really light on its toes. It just wants to take off. It goes. It's very direct. Delivery of power. And it's also good in corners. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a bit of body roll. It's not designed for handling, but it still handles really well. This is a good car to drive, viewers. One thing I will say is that on this particular model, the brakes, they're not the best. I'll be honest with you, viewers. But again, this could be age-related wear and tear. It's not a big issue. And a car this light is not too bad, to be completely honest with you. But this is still a fantastic car, and it's a shame that we kind of disregarded these cars. I know they were very, very popular and very, very common. But when Jeremy Clarkson was talking about this being one of the world's worst cars, granted he was referring to the previous generation B12, which my family also had, by the way.
The audacity, the barefaced cheek and effrontery to call this car a Sunny. A Sunny. It should have been called the Nissan Drizzle. The Nissan slightly foggy and bit windy later with a bit of light rain lasting till Friday. The Nissan Bank Holiday Washout. The Nissan Misery.
One eternity later.
I hate it on a cellular level. I hate every fibre of its construction. I hate its exterior. I hate its interior. I hate its steering, its gearbox. I hate its engine.
In what possible dimension was this one of the world's worst cars? The delivery of power is very smooth, the delivery of power is very sharp, and it's reliable, it's nippy, it's good on petrol, you know, and on top of that, it handles quite fun, let's be honest. Even though it's got a bit of body roll, it's still quite enjoyable to drive in the corners. It kind of reminds me of my Toyota Carina in that respect. But for me, one of the things I like about this the most, out of all the things I mentioned, is I find quite a rare thing, by the way. But for a Nissan, it's comfortable. This is a very comfortable car. I've had 3 Primeras now. Granted, I don't have the P12, which I know is meant to be more comfortable, but I don't want a P12, they're horrible. Nonetheless, I've had 3 Primeras, and they are just rock solid. Some more so than others, granted, but even the more comfort-oriented SLX that I used to own many, many moons ago, just wasn't as comfortable as this, viewers. It just wasn't. This is really, really good. I love this car. And if I was to take it into London, granted I had to pay the dreaded ULEZ, but if I was to take it into London and drive it over London's horrible roads and endless humps, I bet it's just soak it up, no problem at all. This was a fantastic car, and I can see why they were so popular back in the day, but I also can't see why they had so much hatred towards it, because it's a fantastic car. And I just want to say as well, I'm really grateful to the magnificent Joseph Lloyd, whose YouTube channel is brilliant, by the way, one of the inspirations for me to do YouTube in the first place, if I'll be honest with you viewers, for lending me this car. It's a really good car. Thank you very much, Nissan. Thank you very much, the 1980s. Thank you very much, Joseph Lloyd. Fantastic car.
A jumped up country boy who never knew his place. He said, return to me. He knows so much about these things. He knows so much about these things. He knows so much about these things.
So, right at the start of the video, I did say this is England and this is December, so filming's great. And I rest my case because I started off with the umbrella edition of my car review, and now I'm with no umbrella because guess what? The rain has stopped, so great. But going back to the car, now let's look at the conclusion of this car because there is a lot to talk about. There is a few foibles. The clutch for a start is a little bit on the steep side. And it also, I feel like the car's a touch on the roly-poly side, but only a little bit though. But again, it wasn't designed to be a race car, so let's be honest, you know, that's understandable for a car of its age. I also feel like the brakes, yeah, sometimes they can be okay, sometimes they're not the best, so you just got to anticipate driving a bit better. And you only have a gripe really is the seats. Very comfortable, and these aren't bad. My only concern with the seats, however, is they lack a little bit of support, and I would worry that on a long journey to just do my back in. So I suspect for most people that won't be much of an issue. This is, however, in many other ways, fantastic. Has very comfortable seats, has a wonderful, nippy, responsive 1.6 engine with 83 brake horsepower, but it feels a lot quicker than that, if I'll be honest with you viewers. But best of all, it just takes you back to a time when cars were a lot more likeable and easy to live with, and much more easy to maintain, but also it's easy on the eye as well. Like I said, there's a lot about this car I like, and this being a GSX model, you've got lovely body colours, and obviously you've got the wonderful toys on the inside, and it very much suits Mr. Lloyd as well. But essentially, I like this car a lot. A few foibles here and there, don't mark it down for what it is. I think it's a very well-deserved 9 out of 10. This is a brilliant car, and I really like it. Anyway, I hope you enjoy my content. Please don't forget to like this video and share it and subscribe. It will really help me out grow my channel. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Recognise this, everybody? Of course you did. It's been all... Yeah, stop. That was rubbish. Let's start that one again. Now, viewers, look at this interior. This is just magnificent. Magnificent? Stop. With 83 horsepower and a dizzying top speed of around. Stop. I should have asked you that question. And it does a few things that take getting used to: the clutch, the brakes. But the steering is also is a delight. In fact, it's very light and very nimble and very communicative.
Much later.
That is a dreadful. It is. So, what was I saying in terms of this car? So, what did I say at the start of the view? So, what did I say at the start of the beginning of the? So, what?